Hello, my name is Steve Wistar, and I work in the AccuWeather Forensic Department. Our job is to look back in time and figure out the weather that occurred during particular important events in the past. And these can be criminal cases where the police get involved. They could be civil cases where someone falls on ice and gets hurt and sues someone. But there are cases where the weather matters, and our job as weather detectives is to figure out what the weather did. So, the case I'm going to tell you about took place long before you were born in a city in Pennsylvania on a Friday night in a snowstorm. And there was a man who was mad at someone who lived in a certain house. And so, this man came to the outside of the house while the snowstorm was going on, stood there in the snow, pointed his gun at the house, and fired it. The person inside the house heard a loud noise, bang, called the police. The police came, talked to the person in the house. Who do you know that might have done this? Eventually, they got a suspect in mind. They arrested the suspect. They measured the shoe size of the suspect, and they went to investigate a few days later outside the house where the snow was still on the ground, and they found footprints about where it would make sense a person would stand to fire a bullet at this particular side of the house. So the police measured the footprints. How big were they? How long and wide were they? And compared that to the size of the shoes of the accused shooter. And it turned out they were a good match. They were about the same size. Then the police called us at AccuWeather and said, what was the weather during those few days between the Friday night shooting and the time they investigated a few days later? Turns out the weather did what it usually does. The temperature went up and down, different kinds of weather, different days. Some were below freezing, some were above freezing. One day was sunny and temperature well above freezing. And so the question for you is, how would that affect the size of the footprints? The answer coming up.